Let's be real for a second. Have you ever wondered if the person selling you financial advice actually got rich by following that same advice? Well, that's the big, uncomfortable question at the heart of what we're digging into today, the millionaire guru paradox.
It's that little voice in the back of your head, right? You see a financial guru on TV, you read their book, and you can't help but wonder, are they really practicing what they preach, or do they find a totally different way to make their millions?
Man, this quote really lands today, doesn't it? It feels more true now than ever before. There's just so much financial advice flying around, it's incredibly easy to get led down the wrong path. So how in the world do you tell the good advice from the bad?
All right, so this leads us right into the core idea for this whole explainer. We're talking about a fundamental hypocrisy that's kind of hiding in plain sight in a lot of the financial advice we get. Okay, just picture this for a second. You sign up for a nutrition class. Maybe it's called something like Eat Your Way to a Beautiful Body. You walk in on the first day, and the instructor is, well, struggling to fit into their chair. Would you take their advice seriously? Probably not. And yet, we do this exact same thing with our money all the time. And that, right there, is the paradox of practice. It all boils down to one simple question. Do you practice what you preach? It's what happens when someone tells you to follow one path to get rich, while they took a completely different, often much faster path themselves. And here is where it gets super interesting. The gurus, they preach the slow lane to us. You know the drill. Invest in mutual funds, maxed out your 401k, save 10% of your income. But how did they get rich? They took the fast lane. They built a brand, they sold millions of books, they charged a ton for seminars. See the problem? They're selling one roadmap while driving a completely different car. So, you might be thinking, okay, but what's actually wrong with that slow lane advice? Well, it turns out that so-called safe path is absolutely riddled with risks you have zero control over. Let's break down the 7 biggest dangers.
The slow lane is, for all intents and purposes, a 40-year gamble. You're trading your life today for a promise of wealth way down the road, all while just hoping a bunch of things outside your control go exactly right. Let's see what can go wrong.
First up, your health. The entire slow lane plan just assumes you'll be alive and, healthy enough at 65 to actually enjoy all that money you saved. But what if you're not? Wealth is pretty useless if you don't have the health to enjoy it. Second, your job. The whole plan depends on you having a good job for over 40 years. But let's be realistic. In today's world of constant layoffs, entire industries changing, and automation, that's a massive assumption. Your job is not a guarantee.
And number 3, the danger of your home. We're all told our home is our greatest asset. But really, a house is a place to live. It's not some foolproof investment. Just ask anyone who lived through the 2008 crisis. Home equity can vanish, literally, overnight. Fourth, the company you work for. If your retirement is all tied up in a pension or your company stock, you are making a huge bet that this one single company is going to be thriving for decades. A lot of retirees have learned the hard way that that is a very, very dangerous bet. Fifth is the danger to your lifestyle right now. The slow lane basically demands you pinch every penny, sacrificing your youth and your best years for a someday that might not even turn out the way you planned. Delayed gratification can very easily turn into no gratification. And then, of course, there's the big one, the economy. The entire slow lane strategy is a bet that the stock market will just keep going up and up. But what happens when it doesn't? Back in 2008, the market tanked almost 60%. Imagine 15 years of savings gone in just a few months. And finally, there's this hidden danger. It's called the sidewalk. It's what happens when you feel powerless and stuck at your job all week. You end up going out and buying things you don't need just to get a little hit of control or status. It's a psychological trap that just keeps you running in place. So, after hearing about all those risks, it's pretty easy to feel a little down on the whole plan. And that brings up a really fascinating question. If the path is so broken, are we even chasing the right destination? Maybe the goal itself needs a second look. I mean, what does it even mean to be a millionaire today? For decades, this has been the number, the magic number, the goal that's been sold in 1 million books and seminars. But what does $1 million actually get you here in the 21st century? Here's the hard truth. A net worth of $1 million today, it just makes you middle class. I mean, after taxes, inflation, and all your living expenses, it just doesn't buy you the kind of freedom you think it will. It's really just enough to worry about money in a slightly nicer house.
And that brings us to the new reality we're in. If you truly want to escape that middle-class rat race and have real financial freedom, the goalposts have moved. Big time. 5 million is the new 1 million. So even for the people who do hit that millionaire mark, there are two fundamentally different types. And really, it all comes down to the difference between just existing and truly living.
This chart just says it all, doesn't it? The Slowlane millionaire is an employee. They hope market forces work in their favor. They're cheap with their money. But the Fastlane millionaire? They're an owner. They hire employees. They directly control their assets, and they're cheap with their time because they know it's the one thing they can't get more of. One path is about hope. The other is about control.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? First, you've got to be skeptical. Look at how the person giving you advice actually made their money. Second, understand that the quote-unquote safe path has its own massive risks. And maybe the most important lesson of all, real wealth doesn't come from hope. It comes from control. And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. The next time you hear a financial guru giving out advice, you'll be armed with this new perspective. You'll know about the paradox. So how are you going to listen differently? What questions are you going to ask before you decide to follow their map?